Yo, what is going on, Geek Corner? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? What is going on, Geek Corner? This is your boy, Erskmac, the mad scientist. Welcome back to the Orange Phoenix Media channel, one of the hottest black up-and-coming comic book YouTube channels on this side of the Dakota-verse, and another edition of Saturday Morning Comics. Man, you know, one thing about live, man. We had a live show earlier this week, and man, something about live shows, man. You can practice, you can do everything that you can under the sun, but when that live button hits, something always go wrong. Every single time something goes wrong. But I'm glad you guys are able to pull up today to hang out with your boy on Saturday Morning Comics. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, it is springtime and allergies is kicking my ass. So, you might get a sneeze or two on this show. You might get a sneeze or two. But I apologize in advance. Because pollen is out here. Pollen is the super villain for spring, man. Spring is always cool. Spring is always nice. But when you get that yellow powder on your vehicle, on your porches, anywhere else outside, you just go outside just one time, or it just blows into your house, then yeah, pollen get all up in your eyes and your nostrils, and then it's a terrible time. It's a terrible time. Spring feels good, but spring will whoop your ass. That's what happens, man. Spring will whip your ass. But man, we got a jam-packed show for you guys today, man. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Indie Comic of the Week. We're going to be talking about Daredevil. We're going to be talking about the main event, which is Superman, Spider-Man crossover event, at least the DC's version of it, because Marvel's version has not come out yet. And I'm going to talk about the stories that I liked and the stories that, you know, was okay and I understood for what it was. But got a lot to say about that one. You already know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell, because when you hit that notification bell, that notifies you. When you hit all, that notifies you on anything that we do on this channel, whether it's live or recorded. Now, I will say earlier this week, we I did Nightwing. Issue number 136, man. So if you just so happen to not see that video on the channel, go ahead and check that out. Go ahead and hit your likes buttons. If there's a hype button available for you, go ahead and hit that hype button, because that hype button goes a little bit further than that like button. And that just lets other like-minded people like yourself know that there is a pretty good comic book YouTube channel that is out there that is entertaining the masses. Now, I will say this, that we hit another milestone. Ladies and gentlemen. Our milestone is we now have over 900 subscribers, man. Give yourselves a round, man. So much appreciated. And yes, I did go by the comic book store this week. And I didn't get a whole lot, but I got the stuff that I really did want, because there's a collection that I want to have. I'm a big fan of Udon Comics, and one of which is Street Fighter Masters. Now, I got this book earlier this week, and this features Karen of Street Fighter fame. Now, if you played the Street Fighter Alpha series, then you are very familiar with Karen. She's a rival of Sakura. And yo, Huratan, what is good, my brother? What is happening? Glad you're able to come by. But yeah, Street Fighter Masters Karen. I do have Elena. I do have Guile. And I want to say I have another character, and it escapes me right now. But the goal is to collect all the Street Fighter Masters that comes out. These are more like one-shots, really, and it features like the character for Street Fighter. If you are not familiar with Udon Comics, Udon does Street Fighter. Udon does Darkstalkers, basically the Capcom characters, and the artwork is phenomenal. The artwork is really, really, really good. Yes, that's the other one. Zangief. Zangief is the other one. He said, I read the Zangief one. It was all right. Yeah, he said, you know, it was all right. I mean, for what it is, I do want to collect all the Street Fighter joints. So yes, I do have Zangief. I do have Guile, and I do have Elena, and now I have Karen. So we gonna go forward with that. But yeah, that's my goal is collect all the Street Fighter Masters, and if they continue to do their due. The other book I was able to get, obviously there was like, I wouldn't say 3 rolls, but it was like 3 stacks of them, and that is Superman, Spider-Man, the DC Marvel crossover. But this is the DC version. All right, this is the DC version, and this is the thing I'm going to be covering today as far as the main event. And also, there is some comic book news, right? There's some comic book news that I read about last night, and I was like, man, yeah, we definitely need to talk about that, because I'm going to pick up those comics. And I wouldn't say I was off the Marvel train, but I did slow down on Marvel a little bit. You know what I mean? I did slow down on Marvel a little bit. Especially when the Dakota incident came out, I was highly focused on that. And then I was putting out, let me see what, CBCS folded too, homie. Oh, man. Tragic. But yeah, man, I'm kind of like off the Marvel train. I was off the Marvel train for a little bit. I was covering Uncanny X-Men, and I covered Nightwing this week, and I'm definitely going to cover Kaito 84, and that's from Dark Horse. So hopefully give us some love with that. Now, I said this a few weeks ago, and I know other comic book creators sort of kind of have this issue, is that there are good stories that are out there, right? There are good independent stories that are out there. But when we cover those books, like as far as our regular, they don't get as much views as the big 2. They don't get as much views as like a Marvel book or a DC book, right? Now, if it's TMNT, which qualifies as an indie comic, it's not part of the big 2. Yeah, it's going to get those views because people know who TMNT is. But say if I cover like any other comic book, like Kaito 84, I feel like that will get some views there. But we will see, right? Like Nightwing is not an indie comic by any stretch of the imagination. That's part of the big 2, right? At Nightwing story, issue number 136, like the Crossroads, that is a very good book. That is a very good book. And I find it amazing that, not a lot of people cover it, but I know a lot of people are reading it. I know that for sure. I know that for a fact. But because Nightwing is one of the best characters in DC, like one of the most genuine characters in DC. So, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna be covering Speed Racer. I know it might not get as much views because of the fact that it is an indie comic, but it's a book that I actually enjoy. So I'm gonna go out there and put it out there for the masses, and hopefully it picks up, because there's some old heads that love Street Racer, and they may not know there's a Street Racer comic or Racer X comic that is out there. And there's a bunch of indie comics that are good, man. Exquisite Corpses, Temporal, Roots of Madness, Crownsville. Speaking of which, we got to go to our indie comic of the week. We got to go to our indie comic of the week, man. And actually, I learned about this book a couple weeks ago. Shout out to Ernie from Blurred Without Fear. And he actually did a good segment on this book. And the book I am talking about is Crownsville. Yes, Crownsville. I did mention this. This book is really good. Really good. And Crownsville is by Rodney Barnes, and the art is Aaliyah Bonetti. And I'm gonna pull up some intel on this particular book. But this book, if you like horror, suspense, thriller type of feel, then Crownsville is definitely up your alley, man. This is definitely under the radar. This is definitely under the radar by all intents and purposes, because I want to know anything about this book until, like Ernie said something about it. But Crownsville is basically about this mental hospital in Crownsville, Maryland, right? The character that's on the front here is Mike. Mike is one of the main characters. He is a homicide detective. But with Crownsville Mental Institution, at that mental institution, there were a lot of experiments that were being made, right? Like Tuskegee experiments and stuff like that. But disproportionately, it was supposed to be a mental hospital for black kids, right? So what happens is these black kids in this neighborhood gets kidnapped, and they go to this mental institution, never to be seen again. And one of the nurses used to work at Crownsville Mental Hospital, and in her dying words to her son, she says, "I got to tell you what went down in Crownsville. I have to tell you what went on, and you have to solve this case, because what happened to those kids is unimaginable. Like it's horrific." And this is to let you know how eerie it is. Yeah, this is eerie. That is eerie. And this is one of those situations where that building is still open. Like there is security guards in this building, right? But how the story starts out, there's a security guard that's there. He hears voices in the building. So he goes to investigate. And when he goes into this room, he sees a bunch of hanging bodies like in the room. And that's the last you see of this cat, because that goes into the next character of the story, which is Paul. Not Paul. I'm sorry. It is Todd. Now, Todd is a new security guard. It's his first day on the job. You know, he got a wife. He got 2 kids. He's trying to make ends meet. All this other stuff, right? First day on the job, right? Supposed to relieve this security guard. Security guard is not at his post. He's like, "Hey, man, don't make me look bad on the shift. I don't want you to make it sound like I'm late. I know how things get down." And he goes in this room and he sees that security guard hanging inside the building. Like, first day on the job, you witness a murder. You know what I'm saying? You witness a murder. Now, if you see right here, like the he and the laughter, those are the voices that is in this mental hospital. So not only you have Mike, the homicide detective, you have Todd, which is the security guard. Now that goes on to Paul. Now, Paul is another main character in this book, and Paul is a reporter. Now, Paul gets the bad news that, yeah, you know, you've been with the newspaper for 37 odd years, but it's about time for you to pack things up, man. But before you go, we got one more story for you to cover. And there's a homicide that happened at Crownsville Hospital. And so Paul meets up with Mike, and they basically have a conversation about Crownsville Hospital. Now, Paul's mom is the nurse that used to work at the Crownsville Mental Hospital. So he's trying to solve trying to find out what exactly is going on with Crownsville from the beginning up till now, because Mike tells him, like, listen, that building's supposed to get demolished. But it's weird, though, that security is there, like, watching the building, and nobody's in there, right? That's the eerie part of it. And also the eerie part of it is that, you know, Paul wakes up to his mom in the room talking to him. Now, his mom already done passed on at this point. Like, you know, on her deathbed, she talks to Paul and tells him this, you know, you got to find out and uncover the secrets that happened at Crownsville Mental Hospital. But she talks to him in a ghostly image, saying, "I didn't finish telling you what I need to tell you. This is what's happening. This is what has happened at Crownsville Hospital. And I'm going to need you to uncover that. If it ain't the last thing you do, because I can't pass on until it gets made right." So, you know, Paul's mom expressed the fact that she was a nurse there, and there wasn't a whole lot of black nurses there. Like, they were getting paid pretty well, but at the same time, they was doing less. They was made to do less. They was cleaning up sheets, cleaning bedpans, while the other nurses that were not black was doing like the high-end jobs. But they made the black nurses do the dirty work, right? And when it came down to the dirty work, it was the black kids that were getting experimented on, like horrific things. Like, there was rumors, like no one was actually talking about it. And this where these 3 main characters come in: Todd, Paul, and Mike. Obviously, there are going to be other characters involved. This is issue number 1 of 5. So there are going to be 5 issues of Crownsville. And I want to say in June, there's going to be a trade for Crownsville. So you can actually read the whole entire story of this book. But this book is really good, man. The artwork is really good. Shout out to Elia Bonetti. They did phenomenal work. I like how it looks. It gives like a noir feel. Like, everybody have their own. I feel like everybody have their own background music, right? As I'm reading this, right? Paul has his background music. Todd has his background music. Mike has a noir type of background music, like saxophones playing and stuff. Like when you see him on the scene investigating this homicide, it's like, yeah, this man hard boiled. You know what I mean? Like he can find stuff out, but he's good friends with Paul, and the conversations that they had, about what's going on in Crownsville. Like, yeah, we need to uncover what's going on. And even if we don't find anything out, Paul's logic is at least I did something. If I don't find anything out, it is what it is. It is what it is. So Crownsville, now, it's by Oni Press. Now you cannot find this digitally, so you definitely have to get this physically. Do not believe issue number 5 is out yet. So you can go to your LCS and see if you can get back issues of Crownsville so you can read for yourself. So I got issue number 1. I managed to get issue number 2. Issue number 3 and 4 wasn't able to get because people already bought it. And that's what it is. So I say when you want to know about other books that's coming out, right, as far as indies goes, you go to Oni Press, you go to Ignition Press, you go to Dark Horse, you go to IDW, you go to Mad Cave. Those comic companies, like the websites, that way you get an idea on what's coming out and when they are coming out. Because now also you got Comics the Magazine as well. Like Comics the Magazine is out now. Issue number 1 is out. Issue number 2 is going to be out for April, for the month of April. So, they may have a listing of independent comics that are out there that you could read. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I came dangerously close of missing out on this greatness right here. Like this book right here is really, really good. This book is really good. Like really good. So I highly encourage you guys to actually get this book for Crownsville, Rodney Barnes. I'm going to be honest with you. By reading this book, I feel like this could be an HBO special. It don't have to be multiple seasons, or it could be an Amazon Prime like special. Like this could be something that's on TV. Okay. And if you don't realize, like, there's some shows out there that are based on comic books and they are indie comic books because how good the freaking story is. It don't necessarily have to be Marvel or DC. That's just the thing that we do when it comes to pointing stuff out. But yeah, go ahead and check out Crownsville. Highly encourage you guys to read that book. Very good book nonetheless. Go check that out. Go to your LCS and check it out. So hopefully it's not sold out for your benefit. Okay. And on part of it, I hope it's sold out for Rodney's benefit because that book is really good. So next thing we are going to cover, ladies and gentlemen, is the main event, and that is Superman, Spider-Man crossover event. Okay. The DC Marvel crossover event transpired, and man, this book is thick. This is a thick ass book. Like, you know what I'm saying? This book is thick, but this is a one shot, right? This is just like Batman and Deadpool, where they're on the cover. That's going to be the main story. They are going to get the most pages, and then after that, there's other stories that goes along, right? There's other stories that goes along, and be honest with you, I had a good time reading this book. But also, I'm going to tell you as well, okay, how can I say this? The first story was good. Okay, the main story was okay. But to me, that wasn't the best one. Huh? Yeah, that wasn't the best one for me. That wasn't the best one for me. I feel like the other shorter stories were the best ones to me. And the reason I say that is because, okay, you got Superman, you got Spider-Man, you have Brainiac, and you have Dr. Octopus. When you have Dr. Octopus and Brainiac side by side, it was real. How can I say this? It was real comic booky, if that makes sense, but not like in current times. It felt like it was something from like the early 90s or late 80s. That would have felt like that main story, right? Because there was a lot of, I feel like it felt a little campy, right? But it was done on purpose, obviously, because Spider-Man is one of the most prolific characters in Marvel, right? Superman is like the most prolific character in DC, if not in comics, period, right? Everybody knows who Superman is. Everyone knows who Spider-Man is. So if you put him on the cover of a Superman Spider-Man crossover event, then yeah, people are going to buy the book because I'm interested to see what is going to happen, right? And obviously Superman is, but I want to say it's a person, whether it's Marvel or DC, like Superman is a more powerful character, physically speaking. So it definitely highlights that, how Peter and Clark knew or know that you Superman, I'm Spider-Man. They know that of each other. They go do investigative reporting to find out what exactly is happening. And when they change, Superman just takes the piss off impatiently. And Spider-Man like, yo, wait till I get out my clothes. I'm pretty sure you don't do Batman like this. So I do like that part of it, is a little campy. However, like I said, there were better stories in here. And what I mean by that is one of the better stories that was here is Lois and Mary Jane. Lois and Mary Jane was the better story, in my opinion. It really was. It felt like it was a better story. It just how they were talking to each other. It was like how they was talking to each other, man. It was one of those situations where they was talking about each other's lives and how it affected them, and how many trains I've been on, how many planes I've been hanging from, how many Ferris wheels I've been hanging from, how many times I walked where I fell out into the sky and got caught by either Spidey or Superman. And Mary Jane and Lois was written by Tom King, and the anchor is Scott Williams, colorist is Alex Sinclair, Pat Brousseau is the letterer, and Jim Lee is the penciler. So Lois Lane and Mary Jane was actually pretty good. And the fact that this happened here, the fact that there was a guest star that no one really expected was Gambit, right? Because in that point, well, I should have said this earlier. This is spoilers. Okay. So they were fighting a Sentinel. I'm like, okay, if they're fighting a Sentinel, if there are any mutants in tow, like what exactly is happening? But they actually revealed it to be Gambit. And he was the one that took out the Sentinel. It wasn't Superman and it wasn't Spider-Man. Like, Superman is not a mutant. He's an alien. And Spider-Man just got bit by a radioactive spider. He's not a mutant. But they were fighting the Sentinel. They was able to put a dent in this Sentinel, but the only person that was able to put a dent in it is Gambit. And I feel like this was a pleasant surprise. This was really, how can I say this? This was really a top story for me. This is definitely one of the top stories for me. This was better than the main story. And it had shorter pages. I felt like you could have expanded on this a little bit further, because that one was a little bit more entertaining. Even though, it's Superman and Spider-Man, you're going to go through their heroics and stuff like that. But at the same time, the other characters mattered more to me. The other character or story that took me by surprise is Power Girl and the Punisher. And this is written by Gail Simone. And I don't know what it is about Gail. Whenever she writes, and now if you haven't read Uncanny X-Men lately, especially the date with Nightcrawler and and his now girlfriend, and she was like, I want you to bamf me, and it was like, I was like, oh wait, what? Gail Simone does the same thing. The same thing here. Power Girl, which obviously she's an alien, and yes, she's of age, that she pulls up because she's going to pull up to a blind date. Frank Castle is the doorman for this particular club because he's actually hunting criminals, right? So he's under the auspices of being a doorman or security guard, and he walks up on her, and the thing he says when he sees her pull up on the umbrella is, Lord have mercy. Like, this dude, look, Frank gruffiness went out the window the minute he saw Power Girl pull up. He's like, hey, my name's Frank. And she's like, you don't have an umbrella during a storm, Frank? She's like, guess I forgot. She's like, take mine. I insist. He's like, look, don't make me get pushy, Frank. Gives him an umbrella as she walks in this bar to have her blind date, right? So that in itself, I feel like this deserves more pages as well. And I feel like this is one of them situations where you want just a mini series of this. Like you really want a mini series of this. And we're not getting it. We're not getting it. Can Gail Simone write Power Girl and Punisher? Can we get a little mini, you know? Can we have that? Because the minute Frank saw Power Girl, and he's like, Lord help her.
You need to get out your flesh.
Hey, Frank was smitten. Immediately smitten. This man was immediately smitten. I'm like, dang, Frank. That's all it took, huh? That's all it took. Now, obviously, they took care of the bad guys inside. Now, Frank, unbeknownst to Frank, that he didn't know Power Girl was exactly Power Girl. He was like, well, she's like, well, my date's gone. And I'm like, first of all, if I'm not a criminal and I'm on a date with you as Power Girl, I'm on a date with you, Power Girl, I'm not going to leave you. We heading out. We going somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gone. We out of here. Right? But Power Girl's like, man, my date's gone. So, what you trying to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to attend this little crossover somewhere more private. Like your call. She takes his man and flies away. She takes his man. She takes his man and flies away. Now, Frank about to have himself a good time. Frank about to have himself a good time, man. Like, this to me was like, how would I rank this? How would I rank this? I'm trying to think. How would I rank this? This is definitely my top three. This is definitely my top three stories. It was a story. It was funny, but at the same time, it didn't take itself too seriously. And Frank is a vigilante. This man will put you on ice. And Power Girl was like, yeah, no killing. I heard about you. I know about the Punisher. Yeah, no killing. How about no guns? Okay. It's almost felt like Power Girl could change this man's ways on how he handles certain criminals. It just feels that way, just by the way she looks. You know what I mean? Just by the way she looks. But yeah, Power Girl had the riz on here. It wasn't Frank. Frank nose was already wide open. You could see what this man thinking. The minute she pull up, he said, Lord have mercy, you already lost, fam. You already lost. And she put the moves on you. She was like, yo, where do we continue this little crossover in private? Like, where you want to go? Because we'll go. I take you. Frank was like, cool, I'll go. So, man, I know a great place in Mongolia, man. That was a good one. This was a good story. This was a good story. Very entertaining. And again, I told you, this book is thick. You see how thick this book is? Not bad for a one-shot. Not bad for a one-shot book, man. And I'm looking in here. I can't say the main story was at the bottom, but it was a little bit closer to the bottom. But Superboy Prime and Amazing Spider-Man, that was okay. It's okay for what it was. I understood it. It's okay for what it was. Superboy and Spider-Man 2099. I actually dig that story. That story that's pretty good. Batman Beyond, Superboy, and Spider-Man 2099. Obviously with Lex Luthor and Dr. Doom. So that tracks. Now Jimmy Olsen and Carnage. Now that one threw me for a freaking loop. Because Jimmy Olsen is in New York. He's the photographer, right? He's trying to take pictures. Because J. Jonah Jameson, like, look, I need you to get pictures of Spider-Man. I'm going to need you to go there. Like, where do you look? And because he's asking, like, yo, where do we go look to find Spider-Man? And, his coworkers is like, oh, man, if you see some sticky, gooey substance or red and blue blur, like, swinging through, that's Spider-Man. That's him. It'll be okay. And so he's on this mission to actually go find Spider-Man, and who he finds is not Spider-Man. Okay, who he finds is Carnage, and Carnage put that man in the body bag. Like, I didn't expect that. So again, that is one of my favorite stories. It was shocking to see but it was done in such a comedic way, right? It wasn't like he walked down the dark alley. Carnage just finished like massacring someone in the alley, and Cletus is like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Oh no, nah, you going down." I said, "Also, you sound like a tourist, because you're like, nah, you sound like a tourist." So the last shot that Jimmy took was of Carnage with his claws out like this, about to slice and dice him, which he did. He was very successful in doing that. And Jonah puts him on the front page of the paper, like, he made the ultimate sacrifice, and Spider-Man is a menace. Spider-Man had nothing to do with that, like, whatsoever. But it was done in a way where it was very interesting. It was very interesting to see. It was shocking to see, though, but it was done in such a comedic way. It was cleverly done. It didn't dwell on it too much. Matt Fraction wrote this. It was pretty good. It was funny because I'm like, yo, where's Spider-Man at? And through all this, like, where is he through this whole ordeal? But the fact that Cletus said a joke, he was like, yeah, you got to go. And also, you in a dark alleyway. Yeah, you are a tourist. And as a tourist, I'm going to introduce you to New York and how we get down here in New York. You ain't going to be living for too long. like, you going to the upper room, my boy. You going to the upper room. Listen, he walked down that dark alleyway. He was like, yo, I got you now, Spider-Man. And it turned out not to be Spider-Man. It was Carnage.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
It was too late. Now, to me, this is one of the best stories in this book. And it's from the Daily Planet, Daily Bugle. It's by Greg Rucka. Now, you may be familiar with Greg Rucka with Criminal and Ed Brubaker. Typically, they be in tandem together when they do, like, noir type stories and stuff like that. But the Daily Bugle, Daily Planet one, I really enjoyed that one the most. I don't know why, but I really did enjoy that one the most. Because there was a lot of dialogue. And one of them, and for being a short story, because Jonah and Lois was having a debate. And obviously you had this mediator, and the subject was on Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man does heroics, right? So why you always depict him as a criminal? And then they start to have this conversation. It says, like, what purpose does the press serve? Are we solely present facts and nothing else? And Spider-Man is like listening to this whole conversation. And it says, like, again, we're confusing objectivity with neutrality. Now, wait a second, Lois. You will have your chance to talk. I want to hear out what Jonah's saying. He's like, the press speaks truth to power. The press exists to hold those with power, be it political or economic, or just as importantly, personal power, to account. Would you agree? She says, yes, I agree. So, like, and the way we do this is by reporting facts, all bold. What happened, who was involved, how and why events occurred. We look for responsibility. Yes, the why matters. That's the accountability part. Now, that one may have went over a couple people's heads, but it's actually is a jab at what's going on, like, in the real world, right? It's a jab at what's going on, like, in media and stuff. Like, you as a media person or as a journalist, whether it be through the internet, independent journalism, or whether it's MSNBC, Fox News, CNN, blah, 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 that sort of stuff, you have a responsibility to present facts and facts only, right? And hold people accountable, because the most powerful thing here is media, right? Because how people consume it, right? Whether it's through YouTube channels or through TikTok or through television or through reading media, that's how you get information, right? So Jonah was actually speaking, like, through the book, like, this how media is supposed to be, like, this how news is supposed to be portrayed. Now, mind you, he had an end game with this, so that's where it stops, because, like, right, he said, so why the piss Spider-Man got to wear a mask or whatever? He said, I know what you're about to say, protect your identity, blah, 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 blah. I heard it all before. but he has rebuttals to that, right? But he's not a hero, so he don't understand that. So it goes from him presenting facts to him presenting facts, but then he circle his opinion around those facts, right? Yeah, Spider-Man saved this, but you a wolf in sheep's clothing. You're going to do this and this and this and this. So this is my opinion, and so that's where we going off the rails here. That's where we get off the rails. Lois, by all intents and purposes, is the more credible news reporter. She's an investigative journalist, right? She's going to get the truth out of it. And whether the truth is, hurtful or it's not hurtful, she's going to present those as facts because she does her work. Superman as Clark does the same thing. Now, mind you, he may not be as good as Lois. If like take the powers out the equation, right? He may not be as good as Lois. Lois is very good at her job. Jonah is good at his job too. If he took his opinion out of that, he would definitely be, I feel like he would be definitely on the same vein as Lois, but he has strong opinions about superheroes en masse. But he also says, I don't have an issue with heroes, right? He don't have an issue with Wonder Woman. He don't have an issue with Fantastic Four. People that do not, Captain America, because these individuals do not have masks on. It's the fact that I don't know what you look like, that I can't get behind that, right? I cannot get behind that. So yeah, so they actually kind of like put that out there, and Lois actually called Jonah out on his bullshit. He really did. I mean, he has some good points as far as accountability and presenting the facts and everything else in between when it comes down to news reporting. But he kind of went to the left when they went back to Spider-Man because he was trying to prove a point, and he didn't really prove that point. He didn't really prove that point. So the Daily Bugle, Daily Planet, definitely my favorite story. Definitely my favorite story. Again, some of these books here, some of these stories that's in these books, in this book, I'm sorry, should have more pages, right? And there's some that should be shorter. It's the same energy that Batman Deadpool had, right? Like the Wonder Woman Captain America joint. Felt like that should have been a lot longer, right? It shouldn't have been as short as it was. Daily Planet, Daily Bugle, that should have been longer, right? The Punisher and Power Girl, I'm asking for a miniseries because I'm greedy. So, so that's where I'm at with that. Now, the other unique story that I really did like and I really did enjoy, this don't need a mini. This don't need like more pages. I think this was a good start to finish, like a good button, is John Kent and Ben Parker, like them meeting each other and them having basically sons, because I don't consider Peter Parker as Ben Parker's nephew. That's his son. That is what it was. But it's Jonathan Kent, Ben Parker, and this is by Jeff Lemire. And this is a really good short story. This is a really good short story. And it tells you how genuine John and Ben are. And they got caught in this bad weather. They got caught in this tornado. And they were saving kids. They were saving people that got stranded on the side of the road. And they just genuine human beings. It's like, yeah, we got sons, we got nephews. And then without them even saying what they really do, right? Obviously Ben doesn't know that because, you know, Ben is, you know, he's out of there. And maybe this is the whole different, you know, this is a different universe, right? You know, we got a multiverse going on. And now Superman Prime actually, you kind of like express this. Like he has to express this about him punching realities or whatever and dealing with the high evolutionary and him breaking the fourth wall. That's kind of like his thing. But John Kent and Ben Parker is definitely a good story. Now, this one don't need a mini. This one doesn't really need more pages. This was a nice button. Now, this was a legit short story, and I'm cool with not having anything else after that. I'm cool with that. But the other stories that I would like to see more of. Now, another one, Mary Jane and Lois, right? I felt like it did its job there too. You know, if you're going to have a mini, maybe 3 issues or something like that. But if you don't get that, it's okay. You know, it's okay. It's okay. The Punisher and Power Girl. Again, I'm greedy. I want more. I want more of that. I want more of that, right? The Daily Bugle, Daily Planet stuff that can really do something. I like, especially Greg Rucka is at the helm of this and he's writing that. I feel like this could be really good. This could be really good, and you know, you could do like a 5-issue mini crossover event. Like this can really sell. This can really sell as far as like investigative reporting and focus on them. Like focus on them as journalists, like a newspaper company. Like those, you know, focus on them and what they do, right? And they could be in contact with each other or competition with each other or whatever the case may be. You could do like a 5-issue mini when it comes down to the Daily Planet and the Daily Bugle and how they present themselves. Like Jimmy Olsen and Carnage, nice button. Don't need nothing else after that. Okay? Don't need anything else after that. Okay? But so when it comes down to these stories, like, you know, like Spider-Man 2099 and Superboy, it was incomplete because we didn't see what happened, like what happened at the end, how they were able to solve that issue. But that's one of the things when it comes down to one shots. That's one of the things that comes with, you know, an anthology series because of various different stories. Like sometimes you're not going to finish the story. Sometimes you're going to end it like on a cliffhanger just to say, hey, this is actually really good. I want more of it, you know? And I think this is one of them situations where, you know, you can voice your opinions. I don't think the voice is going to be as strong, you know, because there's several stories that's in there and it's kind of hard to pinpoint. But we could definitely voice it on social media. We could definitely voice that, hey, this is my favorite stories. I really want more of this. And again, this book is thick. You got Superman, Spider-Man, which I'm kind of cool on that. You got Superboy Prime and Amazing Spider-Man by Christopher Priest. You have Superboy and Spider-Man 2099 by Sean Murphy. Jimmy Olsen and Carnage by Matt Fraction. Jonathan Kent and Ben Parker by Jeff Lemire. Daily Planet and Daily Bugle by Greg Rucka. Gail Simone, Blind Date with Power Girl and The Punisher. These are all the features here in this book. And this is the DC version. Again, you see how thick this thing is? So, yeah. Now, the Marvel version is going to come out, and they got a lot of variant covers, man. I think just by looking at the covers, I feel like Marvel got the bigger end of the stick on this. I feel like Marvel got the bigger end of the stick on this because those covers are crazy. Those covers are crazy for the Marvel DC crossover, which is not out yet, but I feel like they got a better end of the stick on this. Like how art is being portrayed and stuff like that. But we see what happens when it comes down to this book, man. But overall, I think this book is really good. For what it was. I mean, again, these are my opinions. Like, you may have loved the main story more than any other stories, right? But the biggest surprise was Gambit being in the Lois and Mary Jane side of it. So I really did enjoy that part. And the fact that Gambit really didn't get that credit either. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't really recognize Gambit for what he did. Nah, fam, you did that. Like, you took out a Sentinel while Superman and Spider-Man could not. And which is crazy. And then on top of that, what was funny about it is that Lois Mary Jane, like, yeah, this nice looking young man or whatever. Not young man, but this nice looking man just came through and like, wait, what? It's like, it's Remy. Like, Remy got Riz too. Like, Remy take a girl. Remy take a girl. You're lucky he only got eyes for Rogue. You're lucky. You're lucky. Otherwise, Superman and Spider-Man would have been short. They would have been short. He would have took him. He would have took him straight up. That is Gambit to a T. That is Gambit to a T, man. Now, next thing we are going to talk about is Daredevil Born Again Season 1, man. So, I'll say Season 2, Episode 1. I'm sorry. Watching this first episode, I was thoroughly excited, man. Daredevil in full costume again. Obviously, Kingpin is the mayor. Now, just based off the last season, you know, Kingpin has a vendetta against vigilantes in New York, and he has the vigilante task force out there, you know, hunting vigilantes that's out there. You know, they don't work within the confines of the law, okay? They don't need any warrants or anything like that. So if you out here as a vigilante, 9 times out of 10, you're going to catch a bullet. That's basically what's going to happen there. That's Kingpin. Kingpin is being very strategic, very smart, in what he's doing. Also, it's another hit dogs will holler type of situation. You know, there's another hit dogs will holler, because if you look at the AVTF and Daredevil Born Again, it's very distinctive on what it's depicting. Very distinctive. Like, no warrants. You can just bust down doors, do whatever the piss you want to do. You know, you don't answer the law. You answer to me. This is my personal task force. No more vigilantes out there. And also, what's happened in this episode is that, Yurik's daughter, she's out here reporting like the real, right? She's reporting what's really going on, because the commercials that is out there or people getting interviewed is saying, yeah, I like, the AVTF being in the city. Everything saves, crime rates drop, blah, 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 blah. But that's not what's really going on. That was not what's really going on. It's showing the city like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and everything else, but it's not exactly what's going on. Like they're killing folk. That's what happened. They're killing folk. Now, the Punisher is not in this episode, and obviously the Punisher, it was announced that the Punisher is going to have his one-off in May. So when Daredevil ends, you're going to see what happens with the Punisher. Who knows? You may see the Punisher in season 2. We know possibly Jessica Jones is going to be in this as well. Maybe Luke Cage. I'm hoping Luke Cage is going to be in here. But the fact that this is happening in New York, other heroes got to come by. They got to pull up somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying? What if this leads to Mayor Luke Cage? What if it leads to that? That would be very interesting to see, because this takes place on a major storyline that happened in Marvel some years ago, where Wilson Fisk was the mayor and he did outlaw vigilantes. And at one point or another, Luke Cage ended up becoming a mayor, taking that position. So what if that is the goal here? What if that's what's transpiring here? So we will see. Now, this guy here, Matthew Lillard, man, shout out to Matthew Lillard. He is Mr. Charles. Now, the name that was said was Fontaine. So clearly, this man is coming from DC. He's coming to New York. Obviously, if you are the mayor of New York City, that's really equivalent to like a governor to any other state, right? That's like one of the biggest cities, not the biggest city in the United States, you are the mayor of. So yes, you're going to have DC's attention, right? So Mr. Charles goes sees Kingpin, and he's very mysterious, very meticulous, and he seems like he's a very tough customer, and he is relaxed. Okay, that dinner he had with Fisk and his wife, he was not moved at all. He was like, I know what you're capable of doing, but we are capable of doing more, and you can't do more than I can. And yes, I'm cleaning up some of these messes. And when it came down to guns, and he explained everything, like the way he was talking, he was so relaxed, so poised. It's like, you can't touch me, because the moment you touch me, everything you work for is gone. You know what I'm saying? So don't know what box to put Mr. Charles in, but that guy is very dangerous. Very, very, very dangerous. Played very well by Matthew Lillard. Played very well. Now, this woman here, though, bro, hold up. How you got a beef with Daredevil? How you got a beef with vigilantes? And I'm almost certain. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Daredevil saved her from Muse. I mean, yes, put bullets in Muse, but Muse is about to put some work to her. You know what I'm saying? He was about to put boots to ass, knife to skin. That's what he was about to do. But you got an axe to grind with vigilantes? Like, you gonna like work for Wilson Fisk? And not only that, you suffering from PTSD. You seeing Muse in your, like, behind people that you're talking to. Like, Heather do not need a redemption arc, okay? She don't need a redemption arc. She don't need to get turned around. None of that. She need to get taken off the board. Facts. She need to get taken off the board. There's no way. There's no turning back from what you're doing. No turn back what you're doing. Because that's what the betrayal feels like. That's what the betrayal feels like. Like vigilantes is out here in New York saving the city, making sure your ass still alive, but yet you go out here trying to put them in jail after the fact. No redemption arc is needed. You got to go. You got to get taken off the board. There's no other way around that. No other way around that. Like, she got to go. Another person that got to go, that got to catch that. I hope Punisher sees this man. Okay, I hope Punisher sees this man, because it feels like different series, different shows or movies I've seen this man on. He played a dirty cop. He played a dirty cop. Like, check this out right here. You got the audacity, the mitigated gall to wear the skull of the Punisher. And thinking you are doing something. But the fact that last season, though, he looks up and he see the skulls on everybody's like vest or whatever. He like, y'all a bunch of dumbasses. Y'all stupid. Like, this, what y'all doing is nothing what I represent. Like, stuff that you do is the things that I punish. That is Frank Castle to a T. It's funny because some people used to wear those skulls, right? As if they're on the Punisher or whatever. And they never read a comic book a day in their life. Never read a book a day in their life. If they really knew what Frank was about, they knew Frank would put them in the dirt. Easy. Put them in the dirt. That what Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, would do. So if you call yourself out here wearing the Punisher emblem and thinking that's just a badass emblem, I'm gonna be just like the Punisher, you might want to ask yourself, what does the Punisher really stand for? Like, who do he really take out? If I'm one of the people he takes out, maybe I shouldn't wear that emblem because I don't know how to read. Reading comprehension is not my thing. And reading comprehension is not his thing either. Because, hey, Punisher gonna see this man, and I want Punisher to see this man in the worst way. I want him to see him like that. Want him to see him. And I'm pretty sure Frank Castle is out of here. I'm pretty sure he escaped at this point. Now, here's the other part of it. Now, the best part of it for me when it comes down to this show was Bullseye. Now, Bullseye was like, yo, you're welcome. And in the fact that last season that Bullseye was ordered to take out Wilson Fisk, but he was unsuccessful because Daredevil got in the way. He took a bullet, right? He took a bullet. One of Matt's closest friends, he was sensing his heart and how it was slowing down, like he might be dealing with a heart attack. You know, he might not be a monster living come the second episode. I'm gonna just say it like that. He might not be a monster living. But with that distraction, it was enough for the AVTF to get the advantage and the upper hand on Daredevil, right? Based off that distraction alone. But the fact that they actually unmasked Matt and said, oh shit, that's Matt Murdock. That's the blind lawyer. He's Daredevil this whole time. But the secret is safe because Bullseye took out everybody in the room. and that interest, the way everything flew through the room and that knife hit him right there in the beginning, like, yo, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I don't know if this is going to be it is kind of weird that it's gonna be a Bullseye Matt Murdock team up. I don't think that's gonna be it, quite frankly. I think everybody got their own vendettas on what they're hired to do. I mean, at the end of the day, Bullseye killed Froggy. So a team up between those two, I don't see that happening. Or unless Froggy is somewhere alive and he's not dead. And it was made out that he did die to keep him safe from other things. That could be the case here. But I don't know if that's the case. Because, you know, there's some speculation that Froggy is alive and everything else in between. Because there's been a time where Froggy was dead, but he wasn't. And, you know, you went from there. But I don't know. If Froggy is indeed to the upper room, Bullseye got to see Matt. Like, Matt got to see this man. Like, there's no team ups here, bro. Like, I appreciate the save. I don't know you trying to make amends. I don't know what you're trying to do, but You took out my best friend. I have to whoop your ass. I gotta whoop your ass every time I see you. Okay? If I got a no-kill policy, I gotta savor this ass whipping. That's basically what needs to happen. Okay? That basically what needs to go down. But this right here is a really good ending to episode 1 of season 2. That was a badass like reintroduction of Bullseye. We always wondered what happened to him, but then you see him at the end. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. So overall, though, Daredevil is really good. Like season 2 is shaping up to be very good. I cannot wait to see what exactly happens with this story, where it goes. Yeah, very excited to see where it goes. Very excited to see where it goes. So this again, it's a hit dogs a holler. This episode 1 is very telling. Very telling. You got Mayor Fisk. You got the AVTF that is moving around like somebody else, and you got people right here wearing Punisher emblems, thinking they are the Punisher, and they never read a Punisher book a day in their life. So, and Punisher even addressed this last season. He was like, "Y'all running around like dumbasses, like, that ain't what that skull means." But don't worry about it. I'm gonna teach you what that skull means. I'm gonna teach you what it really, really means. But cannot wait to see what happens when it comes down to this book. Now, we got some comic book news for you guys. And remember I told you at the beginning of the show that there's some news that I come across last night. I was like, yo, yeah, I need to put this on the show. And stuff that I'm actually excited for. So get rid of these pop-ups here. So first story is Wonder Man. So April 1st, Wonder Man #1 hit stores Wednesday. Simon Williams faces his past when ex-cellmate Randolph Chancellor returns to complicate his Hollywood life. And it says lights, camera, superhero action. Simon Williams had his ups and downs, from being manipulated into villainy by the Enchantress to being one of the brightest stars in the Avengers. But just like Hollywood, no matter how low the lows, Simon keeps fighting the good fight. But what happens when the past finally catches up to him? Enter Randolph Chancellor, Simon's former cellmate. A true love letter to LA, as well as history of Wonder Man, and legendary artist Mark Buckingham joins Marvel mainstay Jerry Dugan. So don't see any of the artwork quite yet, but yeah, April 1st is a new Wonder Man #1. If you haven't read Wonder Man or seen Wonder Man, obviously there's a series on Disney Plus, which is very enjoyable, very non-traditional, and it's already been greenlit for a season 2. Wonder Man was that good, even though Disney did not do its due diligence as far as advertising it the way it should have been advertised. But Wonder Man, through all that, still became like the #1 streaming during the point of his debut and each episode. And they showed, they showed every single episode all at once. But the fact that we all watched that and enjoyed it for what it was, it wasn't a traditional comic book story. It wasn't that. But it did have superhero elements in it. So that part I really did enjoy. And like, so I will be getting Wonder Man issue #1. And this will honestly be my first official Wonder Man book. So now, for anyone that confused, now Wonder Man that's on TV is a different character. Like he's depicted as black in the show. Now, when it comes down to the comic, he don't look that way, but we'll check out his origins, because this will be the first Wonder Man comic that I'm actually to read. Now, yes, it is set in Hollywood. It is set in LA. It does have ionic energy. That is Wonder Man. Wonder Man do have abilities. This man does have abilities. And yes, he did start out as a villain, and he ended up being part of the Avengers eventually, so do know that. So I'm very, very excited about Wonder Man issue #1. So definitely going to be talking about that. Here's something I'm very excited for as well, because there's another mini series. It says, coinciding with Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Jubilee gets her own solo comic book miniseries with Marvel Comics this April in Jubilee Deadly Reunion issue number 1 by Jean Luen Yang and Michael Ig. Now, this time, she's bringing her cousin, Eason Chung, a mutant who turned up on the doorstep, and glad to still have one. So it says that Jubilation Lee always puts her life on the line for those in need, but for family, she'll do anything. When the cousin she never knew is in sudden need for help, Jubilee tracks him down to save him, but Jubilee may find that her familial bonds are not as strong as she hoped. What secret does her cousin hold? And what dangerous mutant power does he wield? Join Jubilee as she embarks on a bombastic and life-altering journey of family, heart, and heartbreak. Now, I am a Jubilee fan. And I do love the fact that she's getting her own miniseries. So I'm with that. I'm with that 110%. Now, it drops next month. It drops at the end of next month. April 29th is when you're going to see Jubilee Daily Reunion. So, which I feel like Daily Reunion is definitely an episode from X-Men the animated series, because Daily Reunions, when they did Wolverine and Sabretooth, but you know, they're not related. But still yet though, a Jubilee story, I'm down. I'm down. Now, from Jean Luen Yang, she says, many Asian Americans feel a certain amount of separation between ourselves and our cultural heritage. Sometimes, by confronting that gap, we learn something about who we are. That's exactly what Jubilee is going to do in Daily Reunion. She's going to visit San Francisco Chinatown, a place that seems like it ought to be comfortable for her, but isn't. She's a really positive character. She dresses in bright colors. She's always friendly. She loves to joke around. Underneath all that, though, is real tragedy. She suffered unimaginable loss at a young age. That seeming contradiction, the happy exterior and the tragic interior, makes for a deep character. So this book tends to be a little deep. It's going to be deep, and I'm ready for that. It says, I'm thrilled to have designed this new character. On the suit, the circular sound wave on his chest, his signature symbol, while the dots around him represent protecting the ones he loves, with himself as the center. His resolute, unyielding gaze embodies his never give up spirit. I hope everyone will love this young man from Hong Kong, China. So, yeah, I'm with this 110%. Now, I'm not sure how many issues it's going to be, but it is going to be a miniseries. It's not going to be an ongoing, naturally, because she's part of the Uncanny X-Men. So I'm definitely going to be picking up this book. Jubilee is definitely one of my favorite characters. I find it criminal, though, that she is in Marvel vs. Capcom, right? But as an assist character. That's only what she's in. And I also find it criminal, maybe eventually in Tokon, the new Tokon Marvel game, that Jubilee will be a playable character there, because I feel like this is where you need to go. I feel like this is where you need to go with that. So to give more people more insight on Jubilee, because Jubilee is actually a pretty powerful character. She's a pretty powerful character. A lot of people don't realize, and it's like, oh yeah, she just shoot fireworks. No, son. I hope in this solo series it really dives deep, and yeah, not only her history and why she does the things she does, but also her abilities as well, what she's able to do. So very much excited to actually see that. Now, the next book we are going to look at is something I know for a fact. I'm gonna get Wonder Man. Yes, I'm gonna get Jubilee. But the book I'm really excited about, though, this is going to be a Chris Claremont thing. Ladies and gentlemen. This is called Gambit Wanted. It says, to paraphrase the great LP Hartley, the past is a foreign country. They let Chris Claremont tell X-Men stories there, and so Chris Claremont is writing a character he co-created with Jim Lee. Gambit Wanted, a 5-issue retro limited series drawn by Robert Gill, which launches this July. It comes out in July. Now, with Jim Lee, let's get back to Superman, Spider-Man this week. They might as well let Chris. Gambit issue 1 through 5, written by Chris Claremont, art by Robert Gill, covers by Leno Francis Yu, Phil Noto, Chris Anka, Stanley Artgerm, Lau, Yasmin Putri, and Steven Segovia. It says, target Remy LeBeau, get ready, mes amis, as Gambit, the mutant thief hero, travels back to his hometown for an explosive showdown set in the time frame when Gambit returned Storm to what was left of the X-Men. Discover how Gambit came to join the team for the first time and the deadly trial that made it so. Someone's got mutants in their crosshairs down in New Orleans, and when they hire Bullseye to target Gambit, hang on for the most kinetic showdown of the month. Now, this is some of the black and whites here. Here's some of the black and whites. Man, I like this. It says visionary writer Chris Claremont returns with another revelatory retro series set during his credible run of Uncanny X-Men, this time revisiting one of his most beloved and mysterious co-creations in Gambit. Teaming up with acclaimed artist Robert Gill of Dungeons of Doom and X-Force, Claremont will shed light on Gambit's final adventure before he officially took his place among the X-Men. Back in New Orleans, after meeting the team, Gambit isn't ready to leave his old life and friends behind. But when an anti-mutant threat is unleashed across his city, the choice may be taken out of his hands. The deck is stacked with new enemies alongside fan-favorite villains in the surprising tale that adds new depth to Gambit's fateful decision to join the X-Men. Now, Gambit Wanted is the latest retro series that sees Chris Claremont fill in gaps and flesh out stories from his legendary decades-long work on the X-Men franchise, following his series like Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, Extreme X-Men, and 2022's Gambit series on what motivated him to revisit Raging Cajun again. Claremont said, I enjoy returning to Gambit because when I first created him, I never had much of a chance to build his backstory. I gave him the dichotomy of being both hero and a thief, a conflict that creates a fertile patch for stories. Gambit Wanted is set when he first meets the X-Men and gives me a chance to explore why he decided to give up his unfettered life, doing as he wished in New Orleans, becoming bound to this group of heroes, dramatically changing his life's course. Now, getting the chance to work on Gambit book with Chris was a complete surprise, and it continues to be a surreal experience, Gill said. Chris' name is iconic and one that surrounded my early days of reading comics. Now, I've always thought Gambit was one of the coolest and mysterious X-Men characters, which is fact. And despite more than 8 years drawing comics for Marvel, I'm almost never drawn to him until now. So July 22nd, 2026 is where we're going to get this Gambit story. Now, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to get every single issue. There is no rhyme or reason to this. Gambit is one of my favorite characters. Gambit is one of my favorite characters in Marvel, in the X-Men. Even as a kid, like growing up, I did gravitate to Gambit. I mean, obviously, naturally, Wolverine, just like everybody. Wolverine was like a lot of people's favorite X-Men, right? A lot of people's favorite. But Gambit always was mysterious to me. And I'm glad the fact that Chris Claremont is writing, this Gambit Wanted storyline. I'm glad Jubilee's getting a little solo series. So definitely want to get my hands on that, and Wonder Man as well. So those three comics, at least with Wonder Man comes out April 1st and Jubilee comes out at the end of April, we got a little bit of a gap. You know what I'm saying? We got a gap as far as what we can get, what we can buy. And obviously Free Comic Book Day is in May, right? I don't think it's called Free Comic Book Day now because that was like a thing by Diamond Distributors. So it may be called something else. I did contact my LCS and asked them, hey, are y'all doing Free Comic Book Day? Like, yeah, it's being called something else, but yeah, 1st of May. So I'm going to be in the building because remember what I told you? I traded off some comic books that I wasn't reading anymore, and I got a bunch of store credit. You know what I'm saying? I got close to $100 in comic book store credit. So when it comes down to Free Comic Book Day, that means books are going to be discounted, right? They are going to be discounted, and they're going to be deals. And man, I'm a clean house. I'm going to have stacks of books, son. Stacks of books. I'm going to take full advantage of that opportunity. And you should too. If your LCS got like deals or whatever, that Free Comic Book Day is really the day you really want to be a part of that, because you do get good deals on comics. You do get free issues, free comics as well. And you want to get there when the store opens. And I'm not even, you might think, oh man, you taking that way too seriously. No, I'm dead serious. Like Free Comic Book Day, you want to be there the time it opens. Like if it opens at 10, You want to be there like 9:45-ish. So when the doors open, you can go ahead and get the books that you want to get, the free comic books you want to get, because I'm still hot from last year because there was a 2000 AD, there was a Judge Dredd free comic book deal, and I missed out on that. I never got a chance to touch that book because so many people got it. You know what I'm saying? I did get Gundam and I did Gundam Wing. I did get some other books and stuff, but the main book that I really wanted, I did not get. I did not get that book. So mainly because I chose to go in the afternoon, but everybody done got their pick of the litter. Like it was bare bones in there. It was bare bones in there. So you definitely want to get the books that you want. You definitely want to get there at the beginning. I'm gonna holler at one of my best friends. I'm gonna holler at Will, and you know I say, "Hey man, free comic book day, bro. I'm pulling up. I'm pulling up at 10. We're gonna get these books. We might be here for a few hours. You know what I'm saying? We might be here for a little minute. You know what I mean? So yeah." But yeah, that's our show for today, man. You ought to know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell. Because when you hit that notification bell, there's a small drop-down box that says all. Once you select all, it hits you up and lets you know of any content that I put out, whether it's live or recorded. Now, if you haven't checked out Nightwing, issue number 136 from earlier this week, my coverage of that, go ahead and check that out as well. And I know at 1 p.m. Eastern time, our boy Ernie Carruthers, a.k.a. Blur Without Fear, you know, he got a show at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So this has been Saturday Morning Comics. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. So until next time, peace.